It's Tuesday night, 10 p.m., and this is the C3 Podcast.
I guess you've heard of my reputation. I've had my share of fooling around. But everybody needs stimulation.
I had fun, man. Just out, you guys joking. We working at the same time. Putting the work in as a team. Like I said, man, I'm just glad to be with the guys.
My favorite night of the week.
Good Lord, it's a good day to be a Panthers fan. And we the best. You heard them. You heard them say it. We are the best, Joe. And we put it on them right in their mouth. What is up, Panther Nation? Or should I say, fans of Panther Nation unite. It's Tuesday night. That's right. It's Tuesday night. It's the C3 Podcast. And I am Tony Dunn, the professor. And I'm here with my homeboys, talking a little football like we do on Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. That freaking Puerto Rican. What's up, my man?
Hey, Tony, what's going on, buddy? It is another night in Charleston. It's been a wet one, but I am dry, and I'm hyped about this show tonight. I'm excited about getting to talk some Carolina Panthers football from the fan perspective. And tonight, we have someone who hasn't been on the show in a minute, and it is Mr. Ken Dye. How are you, Ken?
Hey, what's up, Joy? What's up, Tony? Sorry about the audio. We're trying to work on it. Get it.
So we got a little crackly Ken. We call him Crackly Ken. Joe, tonight's show, let me pull up the notes. And the notes are 3 things on a piece of paper that I put down. And it is episode 16.20, Buddy Ryan's legacy. I got to turn the loop off. Buddy Ryan and the 85 Bears legacy lives on in Carolina with Ron Rivera. That's tonight's show. We're going to be talking about the passing of what ultimately I think will be a Hall of Famer, right? I mean, he's not in the Hall of Fame yet. I think Ron Rivera's calling for that, or Mike Ditka was as well. We'll be talking about the imprint he made on the game of football with that defense, that 46 defense, Joey, in Chicago, and see if we can find any trends in Carolina with that style of play. We're going to talk about tonight also the continuity and the friendship that is developing with the young secondary of the Carolina Panthers. And one other thing, Cam Newton rated like the second most important person to his sport in the NFL. Thought that was pretty interesting, and we got some hot takes from Jamie Dukes from WFNZ. We'll reference those. I don't have any clips on it, but that's pretty much the show. You said it was wet there, Joey? Has it been raining a lot?
Oh, yeah. We got it all day long, man, and we're talking a thunderstorm, lightning, big booms of thunder. It was nasty. It's settled down a bit now.
Excellent. Well, we're glad. Hopefully, it will kind of chill out there and get you dry, because Joey gets cold. Joey gets cold to his bones. Ken, you coming back from a vacation? Did you have a good time?
Yeah, it's been raining all day here, but I was out west in Nevada and out in the desert for a week. And before that, I was out there taking classes and building log homes. So, sort of a working
right on. The working man. I'd like to give a shout out to everybody on Twitter. Thank you for supporting the show. We also have a lot of people on YouTube. Let me pull up the YouTube chat. I accidentally closed it. Looks like Kid's there, and Joan, thanks for tuning in. Joey, I got one other announcement. We're going to make this 2 things, actually. We've been working on the C3 shirt right now with for the fantasy football. Roar to 4 is looking like it's going to be the slogan for this year. It's coming out very nicely. I'd like to thank Lynn for her help with that. Yes. Also, one thing, and we'll move on from this, and that is, guys, We've been working hard on this podcast for a couple of years now, and we put a lot into it. We try not to ask a lot. We try to give, but we are going to give an opportunity now, since this is a fan-focused podcast. We want to reach out to you guys and ask for your support if you enjoy the show. If you enjoy the show, what you can do to help us most is give us a share and join in the conversation. That's the best thing you can do to help this show grow and help Panther Nation grow. If you want to be really fun and frisky and build Panther Nation, what I would also suggest is buy us a beer by donating $1. $1 through our we just started a Patreon account, which is a fan funding account, which does this, is that it's meant to help creators, because we really don't get anything from advertising, anything like that. So if you get something out of the show and you want to give back, we'll be happy to take even just $1 a month, which is 25 cents a show. The way I see it is you can buy one beer for each of us every 3 months. Okay, Joe, you got to step out for a second. Me and Ken will hold down the fort while you go, but come back because Crackly Ken is crackly.
Yeah, it won't be but just a minute.
All right, Ken, what we're going to do is jump in and talk about what is hot, and I don't know if it's really the best time to play this clip because, you know, what's hot is not a good story. In fact, Buddy Ryan passed away. I think he was in his 80s. Let me pull it up. 82 or something like that. Do you know off the top of your head?
Yeah, February 34.
So he's 82 years old, and he is the former defensive coordinator for the 85 Bears, which our head coach Ron Rivera played for. And so what you have is actually two legends have passed away in the same day, and that was Pat Summitt from Tennessee, Volunteers coach. But we're going to talk about Buddy Ryan because there is a connection here with Carolina that I'm interested in and seeing how we can try to develop if there is any lingering relationship. Ron Rivera, the head coach of the Carolina Panthers, was a second-year player in 1985 on that Super Bowl team. He's a linebacker, and he's known for being a smart guy in a smart defensive mind, or football mind, should we say. He was known as being a smart player. And in fact, here's a quote. I think he referenced one point that Buddy Ryan asked him why they played the 46 defense or why they made that call in practice or something like that. And Ron Rivera, as a rookie, came out and said it was good against the run, it was solid against the pass, and it got after the quarterback. And he said, "You're already learning, kid," or something to that effect. Ken, when you think of Buddy Ryan and that 85 Bears defense, what comes to mind?
Turnovers that created. Goodness gracious. I forget the exact number. They had over 50 turnovers. I think it was like 54 as a defense. It's like, 3.5 a game, something like that. It's just insane. How do you win against that?
Yeah, that is the first team that pretty much kind of went all the way to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl with a defense. I think the only other team that comes to mind is that Baltimore Ravens team. Was that 2000?
Yeah, 2000, 2001. I think it was 2000 season. 2001.
Okay. Yeah, so, this set the tone and kind of changed the game of football in many ways, is that what you see is that puts at a time, this puts a different kind of spin on how you attack the central focus of that game. The 46 defense, what it does is, I was 4 years old when the 85 Bears won the championship. So I don't remember anything about football at that point, but they started covering up the center and playing defense against the center, putting a down lineman on that, which made it so that occupied him. And what you got was those interior linemen, they lined up 1-on-1 with a guard and two guards and a center, which made it so that those guys had to play individual matchups. And then what you couldn't do is devote help to a single matchup continuously throughout a game. You had to hopefully guess. And this is where we get to see the deceit, the blitzes coming from different ways. And when you think of the Ryans, you think of this type of football. You think of Rex Ryan and his very creative defenses. You think of Rob Ryan, who is very happy with the blitz. This guy, he tries, it's like blitz every play in so many ways. But the idea is that somebody's got to run free.
Mm-hmm.
How do you see any of those trends, or I guess, do you see any of the philosophy behind that 46 defense in Carolina?
Well, yeah, because of the emphasis on the front seven, letting Josh Norman, a player like him, go. It's because the cornerback just isn't a big position, because of having a powerful front seven can be good against both the run and the pass. With the right personnel and for their system, that's what they've got. And that's why they drafted a guy like Butler, even thinking they're going to keep Short. Who knows about that now? But still, the idea is even if Short's not in there, you've got Butler. You don't lose anything. You keep that pressure up the middle, just like that 46 defense, kind of like the 21st century version of the 46.
Exactly. Is what you're trying to do is get pressure on the interior, so that what you can't do is give any help to the outside. To the outside defensive ends, and every now and then you can throw a linebacker blitz in there. What it does require, I think, this defense it requires good linebackers to play this defense, because I think what you ask your linebackers to do is play a little more coverage, in a sense, and that is that they can jump in and they can they're going to be used aggressively, but those guys got to hold the field why those one-on-one matchups develop.
And I think also, just as athletic and agile as the linebackers need to be, they also need to be smart. They have to be able to read what the offense is trying to do. They have to make sure that people are lined up in the right place. And what the 46 defense did that other defenses had not done at that time was really bring the pressure to the quarterback in a way that they struggled to find the right matchup on where the blitz was coming. They never really knew. The offenses guessed, and the really amazing thing about that entire season, or I guess the two seasons, because really 84 is when that 46 started to happen, and in 85 it was just, at its peak. And offenses had not figured it out. They were trying to block everybody and block the defense, where what they needed to do was spread the defense out. Go like 4 wide receivers or 5 wide receivers, because at that point, these guys that are blitzing right off the line have to step away from the line of scrimmage, the offensive line, and go cover. So nobody did that until that Monday night when the Bears and the Dolphins played. And the Dolphins spread out the Bears and ended up winning the game.
Joey, tell us a little bit more about how you kind of think back on the impact that Buddy Ryan has made to this game, and really how this style of defense has forced teams, like you said, to rethink the way they play football.
Yeah, it definitely, I think this defense can be attributed to helping to sort of move the game away from run, and then pass. Run, and then pass. You started to see the offenses spread more, because that put that defense in a position where, hey, if we don't get to the quarterback in time, they're going to complete the ball, and, we're going to be in trouble. So offenses started spreading. You didn't have the 2 tight ends with the I formation as much. You started to see more single back, no tight ends, that kind of thing. And I think that defense kind of ushered in that style of offense. I remember that year, the Bears were just amazing. And their defense was so phenomenal. It was a nightmare for any team that played them. And it took a tremendous, inventive, I'm trying to think of a great word to describe him, but Don Shula was the guy who ended up coming with the scheme to, throw a monkey wrench into that defense. And he's an all-time great coach.
So tell us, give us a little more on the fundamentals of how Don Shula, and this is really a neat kind of point you've made, Joey, is that not only is Buddy Ryan the creator of a defense, but he created a defense that gave the traditional games so much trouble.
Right.
That they had that the game and offenses had to completely rethink the way they approached the game. And here's a quote, and this was, let me see who said this. This was Bruce Coslett, who coached against Ryan as a defensive coordinator for Cincinnati. And he said the 46, even in its infancy, had two primary goals. One, to stop the run, 8 in the box, 4 linemen, 3 linebackers, 1 safety will do that. 2 was the position of the defense to bring more pressure on the quarterback than the offense can block. As the scheme evolved, that aspect would become more effective. Here's Bruce Coslett right here. Eventually, he said, the 46 became an effing nightmare to coach against. It was something nobody had seen and nobody knew how to prepare for it. But he changed football with that defense. And that's what you're talking about, Joey, is that ushered in the passing era potentially of football?
Well, I think the passing era was there, but I think it made more emphasis on throwing the ball because with 9 people in the box, you're going to have 8 or 9 people in the box, you're going to have a real hard time running the ball. And when you have an incredible, possibly the best passing quarterback ever in Dan Marino back there, you want to make full use of him. So it's Miami never really had a great running game anyway while Marino was there. They always had great receivers. So they just started throwing the ball quickly, spread them out and throw the ball quickly, remove some of that 8 or 9 men in the box, make them go cover, and that'll give you a little more time instead of bringing 8 guys on the offensive line to try to block. And
is that so? That's the evolution of the West Coast offense, then, right?
In a manner of speaking, yes. Really, the credit for the West Coast, I'm saying this with air parentheses, West Coast offense goes to a 49ers coach. But it did force teams to try to get the ball in the air more because you weren't going to run.
And quickly. You can't hold it.
Right. You could not run, and you couldn't hold no 7-step drops. More 3 and 5-step drops to get the ball out quickly. Screens. And even those were no good because the level of athletes that the Bears had on their defense was they had some of the premier athletes in the NFL at the time.
There's a great conversation going on YouTube. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. You can also tweet the show using the hashtag C3. Joey, I wanted to play a little clip, because I think I saw our good buddy at Super Heavyweight, right? Gene said the Bears had the talent to make it work. And with that talent, Joey, came personality. And here's Ron Rivera on the personalities and managing that personality. Then we're going to talk a moment on how that maybe has helped him as a coach. Here's Ron Rivera talking about that.
Yes, it was one of the things I did take from it because we were a group of personalities, and you look at the guys that we had. We had Dan Hampton. We had Ming the Merciful, Steve McMichael. We had the Fridge, and we had Samurai Mike. Singletary. We had Hitman Gary Fensick. I mean, we had so many tremendous names and personalities on that team, and it really was about letting them be who they were on the football field, allowing them to play fast and physical. I mean, he was tremendous at that. And one thing he did was he tore every one of us down. Now he was tough on us. He really was. He was hard on us. And at the end of the day, he built us back up. And that was really to find your weakness, to find that one thing that he knew he'd get to you, and then put that carrot in front of you so that you would strive to be better than that. And I think that's why, as you guys are talking about, so many guys love and revere who he is because of the way he treated us, the way he talked us up, and the way he stood up for us, too. That was another thing. He stood up for us, and he didn't let anybody else criticize us. He was the one person that was going to get after us.
Hey, Ron, this is Coach Herm, and now you're the head coach, obviously.
That was Ron Rivera speaking on managing personalities. Kim, we've got some personalities on this team with the Carolina Panthers, whether it be somebody like a young kid like Coney Ely, who came into the league potentially expecting to be a force right off the bat, Cam Newton and that bravado that he brings to the offense, or even Josh Norman last year. Can you see, or do you make connections from Ron Rivera being a part of that and how he's been able to be a successful head coach? Now his microphone's not working at all. Joey, I'll go to you on that question.
Yeah, I think definitely. You see some personalities within the Panther organization. Tolbert's a character. That's one guy that you didn't talk about, but Tolbert is a character. And these guys are skilled and talented. We have good players, but at the same time, nobody has a big ego. And I think that's the similarity that the 85 Bears had and the Panthers. There's another similarity. The egos aren't there. A few guys, but not as a whole. The team is pretty ego-free. And the quarterbacks, McMahon had an ego, and Cam has an ego. So you can comparatively look at that. But they all like to have fun. They all had a good time. It was a very relaxed atmosphere.
I think that makes one thing, and you see that with the Carolina Panthers. Yes. And one thing that, first, there's two things I want to take away from this. First, all those nicknames, fantastic. Why don't we have more nicknames today in football? I think C3 has been working hard with that because, I guess the professor is my given name. But I like the nicknames. The other thing is that it's certainly Savage here, Rappin' Newton at Savage Super Cam says Cam has an ego. He does. It's fragile at times. But here's one thing that I think, and I don't know if we can apply this to Cam. I like this saying a lot, Joey, and that is take your work seriously, but don't take yourself too seriously.
Yes.
And, is that when guys have fun, that doesn't mean that they're undisciplined when it comes to the game. Is that I like to cut up and have a good time. But if you work hard and you don't take yourself too, it's kind of balancing confidence and humility. And I think Ron Rivera is imagine Cam Newton's ego and the way he would behave if he worked potentially with a coach whose ego was out of check as well. Imagine Cam Newton being on that team where Mike Singletary pulled his drawers down, speaking of an 85 Bears member.
Yeah, that would be a fight.
Yeah. Ken, are you back? He's not back.
No.
We had Ken for a moment tonight, and now he's just a poor little picture down there. Joey, I got some other things. Here is Ron Rivera on how Buddy Ryan influenced him as a coach.
Oh, very much so, Herman. And again, when you play for a great defensive mind, you're going to take something from him, which I know you've done in the past too. And really with him, it's attacking style of defense. It's not sitting back and reacting, but it's attacking, getting after people. And, particularly the old 46, which a lot of people today call the bear. defense. But, you know, the one thing was he had this knack and flair for really understanding how to attack his opponents, and he really was special at that.
Coach, when you look at his career in totality, whether it's what he did on the field or the changes he made in defense or perhaps...
Joey.
Very much so, Herman. And you know...
I got it. I'm officially taking the loop function off. Second, Shaquille said on YouTube, even TD is a character. You see him on Panthers game day talking smack before the game. You know, it's interesting that, you know, Thomas Davis has cultivated a pristine image in the NFL, but when he came into the league, he wasn't a misbehaved or a bad guy. He's just certainly he's talked a lot about his maturing process, should I say. Without me drawing judgments on it, is he talked a lot about how, as a young player, how he has changed as a man, and that's something that he's held on to. So even and I wonder, you know, Ron Rivera is able to see those attributes and hopefully help, you know, capitalize on them.
Right, and I think, you know, he has developed. Talking about TD, you know, he came in as a incredible college player as a safety and played safety a year or two for the Panthers, but then moved to linebacker, and he had to put on some weight. And I think his attitude really changed then because he knew the team was so going to be dependent on him to make this transition. And a lot of times in the NFL, going from one position to another is difficult. And he became very serious and I think more focused in making that change. And now he's considered sort of an elder statesman of the team. You know, he's won Man of the Year, NFL Man of the Year, and was a runner-up one year. So this guy has really matured. I think he is someone who the young guys on the team can look up to and learn from. And that's, you know, that is something that you have to have. That's what the Bears had. They had some guys that have been in the league that a lot of people looked up to that were serious. Look at Mike Singletary. Is there a more intense look in any middle linebacker's eyes than there was for Mike Singletary when he was watching the quarterback call his signals? No.
It's scary.
Yeah, it was scary. It was intimidating, but more than anything, it was intense, and you could see the intensity.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, there's definitely, and we have Luke Kuechly. Would you describe Kuechly as an intense guy? I would.
Yeah, I think so. It's kind of hard. He's almost robotic. And that is, like, I mean, I feel like if you built a football player, you would just build him. I mean, certainly you might give him even more physical attributes than he has, but he's so sound in his technique. He's so sound in his understanding of the game. Like, he seems so composed a lot of times.
Right.
And seasoned. And to think that this guy is just a fourth-year player.
He knows what the offense is trying to do. I remember all last year, at certain points in the game, you'd see him start freaking out and trying to tell the guys what play was coming because he'd studied so much film and had put so much time into learning about the opponent. He knew what was going to happen. And, you know, he'd line guys up, hey, this play's coming. You know, get ready for this, get ready for this. You could see him very animated on the field. And that, you know, that's how invaluable is that to see a young guy, fourth-year player, putting in that much time and effort into his craft and learning and, you know, really trying to become the best football player he can be. That's what you want in your team captain.
You know, Joan and the girl gang are talking about, and I'm clicking on the link. If it's got an auto dang video, of course, every dang website in the world has an auto video. What if you're trying to look at this stuff at work, folks? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. It looks like the fridge. Everybody loves the fridge. Yep. See, Brohim. Can you hear that, Joey? Gosh, kill me. I can't even read the article because of that. But it looks like the fridge is. The fridge is look like the tweet is the fridge is not the picture of stability, but the Bears legend is doing what he wants. And then it has these dudes like guzzling liquor and beer. And Joan said she saw him in the mall. So, you know what I mean? A lot of personalities. It's interesting that you see the human aspect of the game. One thing, though, that what I like, and then we'll move on from this, is I do want to put up, I think I got a tweet that Ron Rivera put up. And this is the tweet that Ron Rivera, rest in peace, buddy Ryan. Thanks for being my first defensive influence. The NFL has lost another defensive innovator, hashtag 46 defense. What you were talking about is the intensity of Mike Singletary and these big, bold, brash personalities, but I don't necessarily see Ron Rivera as a brash personality. Mm-mm. And one of the things that's a great attribute for a head coach. I mean, if you think about some of the weaknesses that or when you think of the Ryans, Rob and Buddy Ryan, what do you think about them? I mean, like, what's the first thing that comes to mind if you're going to say weakness?
Of the coach or the weakness of
say Rob Ryan or Rex Ryan, either one. Rex Ryan. Say Rex Ryan, because he's the one that we know more about. We just know him more intimately.
Yeah, I think it's really a matter of personnel, not being able to evaluate the personnel. They just make mistakes as to who they're playing at what position, and I would say that's a weakness for either of them. When Rex went to Buffalo, he tried to play that defensive end from NC State. That was the number 1 pick. His name escapes me now, but he tried to play him at linebacker. He's not a linebacker. He's a freaking defensive end. So you're talking
about Quentin Coples?
No. I'm talking about.
That was the Jets.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about Mario Williams?
Williams, exactly. Mario. He was trying to play him at linebacker. I mean, come on, man.
They did the same thing with Quentin Coples. They hoped he would be the next, Julius Peppers. They made him be what they thought he should be.
Should be, right, instead of playing him where he's naturally at that position.
Here's what I think of the weakness being with this, and this is where I see Ron Rivera getting some of the attributes, but not necessarily the negative components that come with the Ryan personality. And I don't know if you can characterize that as through a personality that pervades an entire family. But when I see Rex Ryan, what I see a guy is, well, let me put this first. Let me preface this with that players on the field are the ones that win games. Is that coaching is important. X's and O's is important. But at the end of the day, it's you go beat that guy. You go make that catch.
Execution.
Yeah, it is execution. So, I almost don't like to give I always feel like this is when you have too much of a mastermind head coach. I don't see those as being very effective. Even when I see Bill Belichick, he seems like an overarching mastermind, not necessarily overly. I don't know. Is that when you make it about the players and execution on the field, the players win the game, the players lose the game, the coaches help kind of get them to one side of that line or the other. I feel like with Rex Ryan, he wants to be the player on the field a little bit too much. He wants just a little bit the credit, the spotlight to go to him. And I think what Ron Rivera does is he's able to kind of manage that balance pretty well, where that is, you let your assistant coaches coach, you don't overreact, you don't get over emotional, but you cultivate emotion and intensity with your players.
And Ron is mellow in comparison to Rex and his brother Rob,
to say the least.
Those guys are intense, screaming and yelling, and it got so mellow with Rivera at one point, fans were like, I wish we'd see a little more emotion from him. You know, he's like a robot, not showing anything, just, you know, a guy. But we did start to see a little bit more emotion from him, but nothing like we see from the Ryan brothers. You know,
Right.
those guys are almost out of control sometimes.
A lot. Okay, so really interesting. I'm not happy that we had this type of discussion. It is nice though to honor something like this, or at least devote a little time, or a lot of time in this case, because right now, Joey, I was looking over and I was trying to think of what the show should be about this week, and I'm always working on the titles to the show, and one thing that I wanted to put Starving Time, but I think that was the name of one of our shows last year. And then I thought Starving Time and then talking about Buddy Ryan didn't go too well together. I mean, it just seemed like not symbiotic terms for some reason. So, but my idea is there's really not much to talk about right now. This may be the quietest I've seen in the whole Panther kind of discussion of football. Even if you go, I mean, all around the web, even the major websites are like resulting to writing stories about rankings of how the Panthers are going to look or how the NFC is going to shake out. And really everybody's just waiting for training camp. So if I could think of anything in this time, is that I've been watching a new generation, and probably one of, maybe what I would say is that this generation of rookie football players may be the most normal or most embedded into social media. You know, it's kind of a thing is that some guys use it a little bit, then as pros, they learn how to use it as marketing. I think the kids today, it's just built into their DNA. And what you see, or what I've seen, is a lot of activity from these three rookie cornerbacks. Yeah, these defensive backs in Sanchez, Worley, and help me out.
And
Bradbury,
yeah.
So have you been able to see any of this, Joey, or is it just me? Because I did put it on auto alert anytime these guys tweet.
No, I've noticed it. In particular, I've noticed it with Sanchez. He seems to be, one that is a social media guru. He's on there a lot. I just saw him today. I think it was Instagram or maybe it was Twitter, but he was down in Destin, Florida, taking his family on a vacation.
On the beach.
Right, on the beach. Yeah, did you see that one too today?
Yeah, what a beautiful, where was it at?
Destin, Florida is what it said on the umbrella behind him. So,
the water looked fantastic.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Yeah, definitely. But, these guys are on social media all the time, which, I guess right now isn't a bad thing. There's not a lot going on in regards to football. So let them enjoy the time with their family. A lot of players during this time, this break, take their families on vacations or go and get away because they know they've got training camp and then a long season ahead of them. So this is the time where they get to really spend some time with family, just get away from football.
There's two things that stand out to me. One, we'll talk about the first one, is the negative one, and that's Daryl Worley. And I've mentioned this before, and I would say it's necessarily negative. Ken said that Zach Sanchez had a personality like Josh Norman's, but I think it's Daryl Worley that's got that personality personally. That's a silly way of saying it. But he's already talking about respect. But and these types of he's confident.
Yes, he is.
He's outspoken. But what I really like, the second thing that I've noticed, is not only that kind of braggadociousness maybe with him, but these three guys really seem to be becoming friends. They mention each other constantly on Twitter. They're joking with each other. I think it was Bradbury who lost his blue check on Twitter, that verification signal, and those guys are joking around with each other. I really am interested. I don't know if I've seen a dynamic where rookies have come in and formed that bond together so publicly before. I can't think of one off the top of my head. Is that something that's going to last? Is that something that can last in this type of business, Joey?
Sure. They can, they'll be here a couple of years together, and provided, they progress like we hope, and provided they're able to make the team, they'll be together. And even if one player or two player ends up going somewhere else at another time, they'll always be able to maintain a friendship, because they were drafted together. They all played the same position, so they were in position groups together in the film rooms together. They're spending a lot of time together right now, and they're all about the same age. So yeah, I think it's definitely something they can carry on.
Do you think the competitiveness between each other, at any point do they realize that, hey, there's a good chance that we're fighting for the same job?
Yes, I think that's probably one of the very first things that they realized was, hey, I like this guy, he's cool, but he's trying to take my position. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's I won't say a naiveness, there's a youthfulness,
right,
an exuberance to where, what comes to mind is when I was talking with Deshaun Foster, and Deshaun Foster comes in as a rookie to a team that had just come, I think it was either Deshaun Foster or Will Witherspoon, and they came off a team that had done really great the year before, and then the team just stunk the next year. Or maybe it was and it was hard for them to deal with that, and that's one of the things is right now you're on cloud 9 as a rookie.
Right.
You haven't, all you've gotten is you maybe have gotten some flack from your coaches a little bit in practice, but everything you just got in the NFL, you see some real money for the first time. Right. The girls are hitting you up on Twitter or whatever it may be. Things are good now, and you got to wonder, or you got to wait until that adversity strikes. But this bond that they're developing can help them, hopefully, not have to tackle that alone.
Oh yeah, that's definitely something that's great, that they can go to one another if there's a situation where they maybe need some some advice from someone who is going through a similar sort of thing, a young kid getting money for the first time, like you said, being able to get his own place, buy his own car, that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think that's something that is a good thing. Also, on the other hand, they have the more mature guys, the elder statesmen that they can go to, Thomas Davis,
right?
That sort of
Coleman.
Right.
I think hopefully what Coleman can do is give you that groundedness of you can have a good season in the NFL and still find yourself out the door and as a backup.
Mm-hmm.
Coleman had a pretty good start to his career in Philadelphia, and then changing of defensive coordinators, changing of coaches. He found himself out of a job, and then in Kansas City, where he was on a team full of a bunch of good safeties.
Yeah.
And so, that has to play a mental role, or should we say it'd be an obstacle or a challenge. So that's pretty, that help, that bond, I think will help. Another, Shaquille said on YouTube that Jeremy Cash tweets a lot as well, but his tweets are like, I want to give that. He's super inspirational, man. Right? Like that dude has got a good head on his shoulders. So I really hope he sticks, even if it's not in Carolina. I hope he finds a way to transition. He just seems like a good dude. And maybe I'm drawing a lot of conclusions from the outside. Let's see, other things to talk about, Joey, I think were
We want to talk about Cam and his being the third most important person in the NFL, right?
Is it the third or the second?
Yeah, I thought I saw third on Twitter. But
Okay.
either way, second or third is very important.
So, what do you think about that? Cam Newton, I've got some strong feelings about this. Cam Newton, say it's the second or third, whatever, is the second most important to football as a player. Is that deserved?
Oh, I think so. I think Cam Newton is the future of the NFL. You know, there are no more Peyton Mannings. There are no more Brett Favre's. Tom Brady only has a few years left, max, right?
He can't, I think he's like 36 or 37 years old, right?
Yeah, so he's only got a couple of years left. Cam Newton.
He can't play past 40.
No, hell no, man. Not at quarterback.
Not at any position.
Well, if he was a kicker, maybe. But
Right.
definitely not at quarterback. So Cam is the future, along with Andrew Luck and who else? Blake Bortles or
Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson. Yeah, those guys are very important.
Odell Beckham Jr.
Not to the same degree as a quarterback. But those guys.
Here's why I think Cam deserves this nod right here. And the reason being is that you could say that he's had immature, these issues. You can say he's kind of diva. You can say he has an ego. The other thing is we can then so that he shouldn't have this, or we can point to his physical capabilities and say this is a guy that people that we haven't seen before play this type of position. But here's Joey, where I think it transcends all of those ideas when it comes to Cam Newton. And that is that he has a unique ability to bridge young, I won't say pop culture, but young, that, I don't know how to put it, that kind of, that culture that the people that own the PSLs don't understand.
I got you. More
right.
Of an urban culture versus suburban?
Maybe. I think it's almost like the millennial type generation of people, where a lot of these stigmas and ideas of the past have just they don't exist. If you think about it, if you're a kid that's Cam Newton's age, you have always seen a female in political power. Mm-hmm. In some form or fashion, whether it be the prime minister in England to secretary, think Condoleezza Rice to Hillary Clinton, so those storylines, I won't say those perspectives, it's a new, youthful, millennial generation perspective. And Cam Newton has a unique ability to connect with that. But what Cam Newton also does is he shows the greatness too. What we hear so much is how the millennial generation, the youthful generation is just weak, how they're lazy, how they're stupid, or whatever it is. They're spoiled. And certainly, I'm sure you can say that about certain people and a lot of people in that generation. But one of the things you can also see, too, is a optimistic generation. You can see one that has great capability. And if you can kind of blend that youthful exuberance with a focus, Cam Newton has a tremendous work ethic. He has a tremendous seriousness too when it comes to the gravity that he approaches the game. So he can kind of balance that. What I would say is that my mom always gets upset when I talk about people that make awesome YouTube videos and those YouTube videos are silly. She thinks that being silly and doing stuff on the internet like that is a waste of time. It shows that, it's kind of like a bratting, babiness. But what I see is kind of a creativity. And you have like Little Dicky, for instance. Little Dicky goes out and makes himself worldwide phenomenon just by using YouTube. I think Cam Newton can bring some credibility to that generation.
I think that's a very observant perspective you have there, because he is capable of doing that. He really truly is, and I think he will do that.
I think he is, right? I mean, and the fact that he is because he is ranking in these rankings already, or he has catapulted these. And, remember the generation that we're not talking about, the older, look at how quickly they abandoned Cam after his immediate success and then his sophomore season.
Man.
Those people abandoned ship like crazy. I think the younger generation was actually more understanding of those hardships.
Right. And I think that's because, some of the younger generation has had to go through some things like that, where they had to do some growing and some maturing, and, that was growing pains for Cam. It was. I think, he has earned that title of third most important man in the NFL because of his hard work and because of his determination.
Here's a little snippet that Jones sent from the USA Today article. Ever see Peyton Manning or Tom Brady doing the dab or posing for team selfies before the final whistle? How about mocking or blowing off media questions at the Super Bowl? Hosting an off-season show on Nickelodeon, ? Maybe wearing Superman cleats while pretending to reveal the S on his chest after a score? Nope. This isn't the state of NFL. I think this is they meant to write the state of NFL.
I think
this isn't the stayed of NFL. This isn't the stayed NFL. Like, I guess maybe that's a synonym for kind of static or stagnant or business-like. Mm-hmm. It's Newton's world where his gifts and charisma are likely to continue reshaping the most difficult and high-profile job of the sporting landscape.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I've seen all of those guys pout just as much as damn Cam Newton. So, yeah, like the first part, I didn't really dig on that. But, okay. Joey, it's 10 o'clock. It's 11 o'clock already. And we can keep going. We could talk Panthers football, or we could just get on out of here and give and just have a great show, despite the insurmountable problems that face us every week.
Yeah, I think we need to do one more segment and call it a night.
Okay. Well, I hope you got a good one, because I am coming in off the fly and I don't even know what I'm icing up yet.
Well, I kind of have something here, and it's, with what has happened today and losing two of sports' two iconic figures in the sporting world, in Pat Summitt and Buddy Ryan. Something like this is a real shame, because it's something that really could have been avoided. I read that, I believe it was today, a former Colts running back named Zerlon Tipton.
Yes, I heard about this afternoon.
He was at a car dealership. Now, from what I read, I think he was looking at getting a new car. Okay. So he was at a car dealership, and he went to his car, I guess after talking to someone, to get a bag. Inside the bag, there were firearms that were not stored correctly. They were just flopping around loose in a bag. And as he picked the bag up and went moving, one of those firearms discharged, hitting him in the stomach. Okay, no big deal. Goes to the hospital.
No big deal. He got shot in the stomach.
I know. But, with today's medicine and abilities in the hospital, it's not as severe as it was at one time. But you never know what can happen. So he went from being, to expected to live till something went wrong and he died. He was a young man. He was only
26, I think.
26 years old. Had played 1 year in the NFL. Had run into some issues where with the law. But the point of this whole ISAP I'm making is be responsible with your firearms. If you're going to own a firearm, you have a responsibility to make sure they're secure, that you won't have anything like this. Because what if it would have been someone else, Tony, instead of himself? It could have been a child, God forbid. But the point being, make sure they're secure, make sure there's no possibility of a discharge, and be responsible. Owning a weapon makes you have to be responsible for it. So, to anyone who is carrying around a gun irresponsibly in a bag or in their car or even in their home, you need to ice up, because we don't want this happening to you or someone you love.
Yeah, and this is going to come off terrible because this has nothing to do with this young gentleman who, unfortunate accident, but, something that could be avoided.
Totally.
I downloaded this book. So as an Amazon Prime member, and if you're on Amazon, you could always help us out. You can go to our website and hit the shop tab and then shop Amazon. And what that does is it's a referral link to Amazon. So they know that you got through to Amazon through our website. Now, why don't you do this if you're an Amazon shopper, and instead of doing it every time, just bookmark that exact link as your Amazon link, and it will record it so you don't have to go through our website each time. That's just an idea. But if you're an Amazon Prime member, one of the things they're doing is trying to get you to get that Kindle all the time. Like you get books, you pay a fee per month and you just get access to the books. It's like Amazon Prime Video, but for books, but it's a separate fee. And they give you these early releases in Amazon Prime trying to tempt you into this. And so I downloaded this early release. I was in like a rush. I just picked it based off the name, and that wasn't even a good pick. It was called The Temporary Agent, Joey. And here, after 3 lines, I said, I'm probably not going to read this. But this was the 3rd sentence of this first chapter. Oblivious to his own gunshot wound, he drove his Jeep as fast as he dared down the dark road. So that came to mind when you said, oh, no big deal. You shot yourself in the stomach. Oblivious to your own gunshot wound. Oh, I didn't even know that gunshot was there. Okay. I was my ice up pick, and it just flew out of my head. One was going to be Jamie Dukes. And he's so easy. It's just like this low-hanging fruit. And I felt sorry for him today. He was on
WFNZ.
Yes. And maybe it was today or yesterday. I listened to it on the podcast. And he was talking about the Carolina Panthers. And he really didn't know much about our team. And that was the kind of thing that was disappointing with it. I felt sorry for him because he was talking about things he just had no idea about. He was talking about the Josh Norman deal, and now that money was open, that he didn't know who they were going to use it to lock up. They already have Kuechly, they already have Cam Newton, they are, and you're right. The whole story has been K1 short here.
Right, it's been big news.
Yeah. I mean, so, and then, I mean, that's what the Butler pick was about, all these things. And then the other thing he said was that Michael Orr, who he liked a lot, played the wrong position and should play right tackle because he's a mauler and he's a mean man. No. And that's just not the case. Mm-mm. He said, you need a dancing bear to play left tackle. He is better. He's not mean. He's terrible in the. He would make an awful right guard, I think.
Right. All right.
So, Yes, right tackle. Thank you. So that is, I think he's going to be my ice up pick. And I had one other that was really good, and it just escaped my mind. So carry me for a second, Joey.
Sure. I am not a big fan of Jamie Dukes. He was an Atlanta Falcon for a while, and he played at one other team, but I can't recall what other team he played for. But he is very much anti-Carolina. I'm even shocked that he would go on a Charlotte sports radio station and try to talk about the Panthers because really, he does not care for them. I've listened to him on NFL Network talk poorly about Cam, poorly about the Panthers organization, poorly about the front office, just one thing after another. So I am not surprised when I hear you say that he has no real idea about this team because he doesn't care for us. He hates us for whatever reason. I guess because we're so dominant now in Atlanta. So anyway, he lives in Atlanta, and that probably has something to do with it. But
I can't think of my other ice up pick, so we're just going to leave it with that. Jamie Dukes, you get the ice up. I had a good one. I'll tweet it out when I come up with it. But that's the C3 podcast, guys. Look, thanks for tuning in. We got a great audience. We've got great fans.
Yeah, we do. And I want to say this, guys, that C3 is a product of Fan First Productions, and we are Fan First Productions because we know how important the fan is. As we say, and I'm going to say it from now on at the end of every show, without the fan, football is just a kid's game.
It's the damn truth. And, we know this, and when we say fans, we know that you're not fans of C3. You're fans of the Carolina Panthers.
Absolutely.
And we're just one of you. And you are one of us. But if you like what you hear, you heard what I said earlier in the show, you can help us out by, buying us a beer on our Patreon account or giving us a share or like. You can follow us on Twitter at @cat_chronicles. You can check our workout every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. on the C3 podcast, as well as www.carolinacatchronicles.com. That is where you can find all the latest work that we bring you from the fan perspective. So we'll see you next Tuesday. And we'll have a lot to talk about, hopefully. Or else, if not, we'll just figure it out and we'll make it work.
That's
see you. Joe, keep pounding, brother.